My fellow Americans, it's good to be with you once again and to celebrate the birth of our nation, our constitutional republic. As I was preparing this video, I was reminded of the admonition of Goethe, the German philosopher. Truth must be repeated again and again, because error is constantly being preached round about. It is the year of our Lord 2021, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 245th. It was 234 years ago that 55 men, our founding fathers, met in Independence Hall, and over a period of 4 months, debated and wrote our Constitution. A Constitution that has stood as a model for the nations around the world. A document that begins with 3 words that every true American should never forget. We the people. A document that establishes the United States as a constitutional republic. Have you read it lately? As I reflect upon the rich heritage of the freedom which is ours, I am returned to the years of my youth in the Methodist Church, where I first learned the strains of our centennial hymn, God of our Fathers. Do we, the people, as individuals in a nation, really believe that the divine providence led our nation into existence? Or have we, as a nation, become so sophisticated after 245 years that we no longer need the reliance and help of the God of our fathers? I wonder if we the people, as individuals and as a nation, can with fervor continue to sing the strains of our centennial hymn. Listen with me as the Tabernacle Choir sings its first verse. Can we the people, as individuals in a nation, who once felt to raise songs of gratitude to the God of our fathers for our freedom and heritage, feel so now? I make no apology for my belief that God raised up the founding fathers to establish our nation as freedom's beacon of hope in a world of darkness. Nor do I apologize for my belief that the founding fathers were inspired by that same God to write our Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. I firmly believe that without His almighty hand leading the colonists, our constitutional republic would not have been established. We then, as individuals in a nation, should raise grateful songs and prayers to Him daily, who has granted us our heritage of freedom. For the price of that freedom and heritage was and is still being paid for by the blood of patriots willing to pay the last full measure of devotion for the ideal known as America. Patriots willing to die that their future generations might also have the blessings of liberty bequeathed to them by their forefathers. Listen with me as the choir continues with the second verse. From Jamestown and Plymouth, through the turbulent days of our founding fathers, through the birth of our constitutional republic in 1787, and on through the crucible of our Civil War to preserve our Union. This was the heritage of our nation. We, the people, as individuals and as a nation, knew that we were founded on Judeo-Christian principles, and for all that time, from 1620 until 1900, no one questioned whether America was a Christian nation. They knew that it was. For more than 300 years, we, the people, as a nation, relied upon the God of our fathers to be our ruler, guardian, guide, and stay. Our founding fathers were well read and understood the Bible. The pastors of their day formed the Black Robe Regiment of the Revolution. They taught the principles of freedom and liberty and the tyranny of excessive government across their pulpits from the Bible. The success of the Black Robe Regiment can be best understood by knowing that as a matter of policy, the British Army burned their churches to the ground. How we, the people, need the Black Robe Regiment today to use their pulpits to reground us as individuals and as a nation in the faith of our fathers, that we, the people, as individuals and a nation, might once again proclaim, Thy word our law, Thy paths our chosen way. In 1968, just prior to my deployment to Vietnam, I was privileged to make a similar speech on America. In the 53 years since then, the situation in our beloved America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, has not improved. In fact, it has deteriorated significantly. So much so that I greatly fear for my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and our constitutional republic, as the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity continue to slip away year by year. Today, each of us, like Ebenezer Scrooge in Dickens' Christmas Carol, needs to consider if the loss of our God-given unalienable rights to life, liberty, and property, confronting us individually and as a nation, are shadows of things that will be, or are they shadows of things that may be? And like Scrooge, the answer is dependent on what each of us individually does to preserve our constitutional republic as we go forward day to day. There is recorded in the book of Proverbs the following: When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. There are those who believe that church and state are irrevocably separated, that one should not speak in conjunction with the other. However, such is not the case, for since earliest biblical times, where the leaders of the nations hearkened to the voice of God, they have succeeded in their righteous aims. So it is today. Wise men and women speak to our leaders in government and to we the people, but much to our sorrow, their words seem to fall on deaf ears. Let us listen again to the choir continue with the third verse. Post-World War II days and the Cold War, our enemy was much easier to see, identify, and define. But the evils of the cancerous ideology called communism, which confronted us then, have but metastasized in this great nation of ours today, and in all nations around the world. Those who support the destruction of our God-given unalienable rights to life, liberty, and property have in our day become much more sophisticated in their efforts. They have recognized that freedom-loving people will never outrightly accept the bondage of socialism. They have realized that they must lead us, as individuals and a nation, along by tiny little baby steps into their goal of a welfare socialist state. They have mastered and taught their minions to be patient and use evolutionary means rather than revolutionary means to achieve their goals. To those who fail to see this socialistic answer, let it be remembered that progressivism is but another name for socialism. Progressives are masters of renaming and repackaging their plots when they are discovered. They do this to continue to hide their true purposes, all power and control in the governance of men. They bend tolerance into acceptance. They bend equal justice into social justice. They bend liberty into entitlement. They bend ownership into redistribution. And thus the progressives and socialists lead us along towards their goal of a welfare socialist state and the destruction of our constitutional republic. It is my testimony to all who will listen and hear that the primary objective of the leaders of the progressive and socialist movement is the destruction of our God-given unalienable rights to life, liberty, and property, and the enslavement of we the people, and if possible all mankind, in an oligarchy under their control in a welfare socialist state. A government where they become the masters and we the people become the slaves, dependent on them for everything. Every true American should be aligned against the evils of the progressive and socialist movement, which attack the very foundation of our nation from every conceivable angle. The Declaration of Independence and our Constitution are the foundations of this nation. And as I have said, I personally believe that God caused this nation to rise through the founding fathers and these two documents. The enemies of our great nation, both within and without, can only be thwarted by adherence to the Judeo-Christian principles found within our founding documents, principles written down by our founding fathers, who were raised up by God for the very purpose of establishing this nation. I firmly believe that without His almighty hand leading us today, our constitutional republic is and will remain in grave danger. God is only bound to be our sure defense as we follow Him, who is the Prince of Peace. As we do this, His blessings, which flowed for 300 years, will once again rain down upon the people and the nation. Let us listen as the choir finishes our centennial hymn. As individuals in the nation truly need refreshing from God, who granted us our unalienable rights to life, liberty, and property. The constitutional republic, bequeathed to us by our founding fathers, for a second time is passing through the valley of the shadow of death. Our Constitution is being attacked on every side by the very persons elected to protect it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Just as the politicians of the Civil War era failed to destroy government of, by, and for the people, the politicians of the progressive and socialist movement of today will also fail if we return to the God of the land, who caused it to be established 245 years ago. It is my purpose here to shake you from acquiescence, for America is basically the last free man standing in the community of nations, and as has been stated by many, eternal vigilance is the price of freedom. The progressives and socialist movement has virtually established their socialist model throughout the rest of the entire world, and many in this nation are oblivious to the chains of slavery being tightened around them, or if they are aware, they choose to ignore their peril and the enslaving consequences of their inaction. If we as Americans do not stop the slide of this nation towards the welfare socialist state, freedom and liberty will die throughout the entire world for a very long time. For you cannot dethrone an iniquitous king, save it be through much contention and the shedding of much blood. Consider freedom's cost from the history of our constitutional republic. In the 7-year struggle for our independence, nearly 4,500 gave their lives that we might obtain our freedom from the tyranny of King George III and the English Parliament. Then in the 4-year struggle of the Civil War, more than 110,000 gave their lives to preserve the Union and government of the people, by the people, for the people. And what of the many others since, who have paid the last full measure of devotion in the cause of freedom's preservation around the world? I hope that we will all join in and be anxiously engaged in the fight for freedom's preservation. For as we are told in the Scriptures, he that is not with me is against me. Could it be that the Lord is angry with us today for our indifference towards the freedom of this nation, which he caused to be established? You may say, I'm not the government. I don't make the decisions. Recall the words of Abraham Lincoln. We are a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Remember the words of the Bill of Rights in the 10th Amendment of our Constitution. The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. I say to every American that we the people are the government, and if we do not voice responsible opinion and are apathetic, we are voting for the destruction of freedom simply by failing to stand up for freedom. The only thing it takes for evil to triumph is for good men and women to do nothing. Can any true American who has witnessed and been exposed to the increasing assault on the family, the rejection of the God of our fathers, the destruction of our Judeo-Christian heritage, and the erosion of our God-given unalienable rights through the expansion of unconstitutional government by social justice programs and entitlement programs over the past 85 years, honestly say, all is well in America? Can any true American who has witnessed the spiritual wickedness in high places of government, particularly in the Congress, the Oval Office, and the Supreme Court, honestly say, all is well in America? If so, I recall a period in the New Testament where Christ travailed over Jerusalem because the people said it not the things he tried to do through his prophets. And I wonder if on the side of a mount, not unlike Olive in Jerusalem, outside your city, my city, or Washington, D.C., if Christ doesn't speak like this: America, America, how long will you sit by and let bigots, traitors, and the like destroy your constitutional republic and the Constitution which was and still is your foundation? How long will you permit those who speak of your destruction and advocate the overthrow of your government, the government I caused to be established, by force if necessary, to be protected by the same courts that would have deported, jailed, and put to death such persons just 70 years ago? Is patriotism so dead in the hearts of Americans that they can permit such injustice to those who have given all for the freedom in your great republic? If so, the drums which played freedom's beat almost 250 years ago now will play a dirge, and the bells which proclaim liberty throughout the land to all the inhabitants thereof will break forth with the silence of bondage. The evils of the progressive and socialist movement can be defeated, but it will be a long, hard fight. However, remember what George Washington said: truth will ultimately prevail where there are pains taken to bring it to light. This is what we must do. We must bring truth to light. We must ensure that all Americans are aware of the threat of the progressive and socialist movement, which is seeking to destroy our inalienable rights from God and the liberty and freedom of our constitutional republic. Are we today willing, as our founding fathers were, to pledge our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor to the preservation of this, our constitutional republic? Are we willing to rally around Old Glory in memory of our God, our religion and freedom, and our peace, our wives and our children? Nathan Hale, a poor school teacher, was ready. "I regret that I have but one life to give for my country," was his only reply to the British when he was being executed for spying. Patrick Henry was ready. It was he who said, "Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty, or give me death." These men, and countless more since then, gave their all. Many of them gave their lives, that freedom might come forth, grow and prevail in this land. Are we the people, as individuals in a nation, willing to do as much to preserve freedom in our constitutional republic? Listen to the words of the great patriot and former Secretary of Agriculture, Ezra Taft Benson. To the patriots I say this: take that long eternal look. Stand up for freedom, no matter what the cost. It can save your soul, and maybe your country. What then is the duty of all true Americans? We know the principles upon which this nation was established, and which enabled us to become the greatest nation on earth: our Judeo-Christian heritage and our founding documents. By keeping our Constitution strong, we can go some ways up the track to preserving our God-given unalienable rights to life, liberty, and property, even though the satanic ideology of the progressive and socialist movement encircle us. For as long as we know the truth and can maintain it, we will be free. And America, as the last man standing, will remain the beacon of hope it has been to the entire world since the God of the land, this land which is choice above all other lands, established it 245 years ago. We must fight against the corruption that is destroying our nation. We, the people, as individuals in a nation, have a responsibility under our Constitution to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to maintain the American way of life as given to us by God through our founding fathers, and pass it intact to succeeding generations, is the responsibility of every true American. We, the people, as Americans, therefore, have a responsibility to our posterity, our future generations, to learn the truth, know the truth, act on the truth. How can we, the people, who hold God, family, and country so dear, do anything else but to stand against the tyranny of the progressive and socialist movement and their efforts to turn our constitutional republic into a welfare socialist state? How can we, the people, not oppose the destruction of the American ideal and way of life? How can we, the people, not stand against spiritual wickedness in high places? How can we, the people, not labor in so just a cause as the removal of the chains of slavery, which already encircle 47% of this nation? How can we, the people, not labor to restore their self-reliance and ability to strive for the American dream, utilizing their God-given unalienable rights to life, liberty, and property? We, the people, individually and as a nation, need to heed God's promise. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. If we, the people, do this as individuals and as a nation, God will once again thwart those seeking to destroy our constitutional republic, this time by striving to change it into a welfare socialist state. How we, the people, need God to lead us back from the dark night of tyranny and slavery we, the people, as an individuals and as a nation, are facing, into the daylight of freedom and liberty, which our forefathers enjoyed and bequeathed to us. When we, the people, as individuals and nation, earn the blessing of His promise with deep and sincere humility, we should then feel in our hearts to praise the power that has made and preserved us a nation, and the star-spangled banner in triumph shall wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. And America, as the last free man standing, will continue to be a beacon of hope for all the world. I invite all true Americans to join with me in the effort to restore our constitutional republic and our God-given unalienable rights to life, liberty, and property. Once again, hear the words of Ezra Taft Benson. To the patriots I say this: take that long, eternal look. Stand up for freedom, no matter what the cost. It can save your souls, and maybe your country. May God bless and save the United States of America, our constitutional republic.